at 12,000 meters above the ground. Chinese pilot Liang Wanjun faces a critical moment in the cockpit of the Jiaolong fighter jet. In the midst of its test flight, the jet, moving at a speed of 16 Mach, suddenly begins to shake violently. Liang Wanjun turns his attention to the fuel gauge on the dashboard, which is also fluctuating erratically. Normally, even at high speeds, such fluctuations in the fuel gauge should not occur. Focusing on the fuel gauge, it shockingly indicates that only 1,800 liters of fuel are left, causing him to break out in a cold sweat. The jet had taken off fully fueled with 2,900 liters, and after flying just over 100 kilometers, it should have had at least 2,400 liters remaining. This severe drop in fuel level indicates a potential fuel leakage issue. Liang Wanjun immediately reports the situation to the control tower, indicating the abnormal fuel consumption and requesting an immediate return to base. The control tower quickly realizes the gravity of the situation. Running out of fuel, leading to an engine shutdown mid-air, is one of the most serious scenarios in flight accidents. Urgent directives are given to Liang Wanjun to reduce the jet's thrust and return to base immediately. Upon receiving the command, Liang Wanjun promptly alters his course to return. Despite these efforts, the fuel gauge continues to fluctuate, and the fuel level rapidly decreases. Liang Wanjun's first thought is to increase flight speed to make an emergency landing before the fuel runs out. However, after a minute of increased speed, he realizes that this approach is making the situation worse, as the fuel depletion rate increases. With only 1,000 liters left after just a minute, he understands that he cannot outrun the fuel leak. He adjusts the speed to slow down the rate of fuel loss, trying to manage the dire situation. But after 3 minutes of steady flying, the fuel gauge alarmingly shows less than 500 liters remaining. 2 warning lights begin flashing, signaling the critical state of the aircraft. The ground control tower instructs Liang Wanjun to close and then quickly reopen the crossvalve and direct law to possibly slow down the fuel leak. Liang Wanjun follows these instructions immediately, but the emergency alarm continues to sound. The situation worsens as the fuel gauge now displays only 200 liters left. With such a rapid rate of fuel leakage, returning to the airport seems almost impossible. Yet, as an elite test pilot, Liang Wanjun refuses to give up. He maintains a stable flight attitude, heading towards the airport despite the diminishing fuel. Eventually, the fuel in the fighter jet runs out, causing the engine to shut down mid-air, leaving Liang Wanjun powerlessly gliding in the sky. At this critical moment, he is still 25 kilometers away from the airport. In 2004, during a test flight of China's newly developed Jiaolong fighter jet, an unexpected engine shutdown occurs. Determined to save the jet, Liang Wanjun defies the command to eject, leading to an unexpected outcome. Due to the fuel leak, the engine runs out of fuel, and Liang Wanjun, along with the Jiaolong fighter, now glides powerlessly in the sky, 25 kilometers from the airport. He reports to the ground control tower, engine has shut down, fuel nearly exhausted, altitude 6,800 meters, speed 701. In the control tower, every commander is on edge, knowing the seriousness of an engine shutdown mid-air. If not handled properly, it could lead to catastrophic destruction and loss of life. The squadron leader, with no other option, orders Liang Wanjun to control the speed, reduce altitude, and prepare to abandon the aircraft and eject. Recalling those who sacrificed themselves for missions before him and the countless researchers who devoted their lives to developing the jet, Liang Wanjun resolves not to give up until the very last moment. He responds to the tower, "I have enough altitude and speed to attempt to glide back to the airport for an emergency landing." The ground command center, knowing Liang Wanjun's determination, agrees to his request but emphasizes the importance of safety and the need to eject immediately if there is no other option. As deputy squadron leader of the test flight team, Liang Wanjun, who has always considered these fighter jets as his brothers, gently pushes the control stick, adjusting the aircraft's flight attitude, aiming to exchange altitude for speed. The dashboard shows an altitude of 6,000 meters and a speed of 580 kilometers per hour. Without fuel, these 2 data points are his only chance for a turnaround. He rapidly calculates every possibility for an emergency landing, confident that with the current altitude and speed, gliding to the airport should be no issue. Even landing outside the runway in the vast open areas around the airport would minimize potential damage. Now, the aircraft is without fuel, reducing the risk of explosion even in the event of a crash landing. Thus, Liang Wanjun, while carefully controlling the aircraft, analyzes the data on the dashboard, preparing for the final approach. Approximately 5 kilometers from the airport, the altitude reads 3,200 meters and the speed 405 kilometers per hour. With this distance and speed, the fighter should be able to glide down to the airport. However, now Liang Wanjun faces a new problem. The speed might be too high for landing. Excessive speed could cause the jet to overrun the runway. Faced with this difficult choice, Liang Wanjun decides to take another risk. He chooses not to slow down yet, ensuring he can reach the airport. Upon aligning with the runway during his final approach, he cuts a sharper angle than usual to save descent height. Simultaneously, he lowers the landing gear early and uses fine adjustments to the control stick to reduce the speed as much as possible. As the jet nears the runway, the speed is still around 380 kilometers per hour, with little room for error. It's a forced landing now. The control tower continuously updates Liang Wanjun on his altitude: 300 meters, 200 meters, 100 meters. Emergency vehicles on both sides of the runway are ready. At 80 meters, 50 meters, 20 meters, the aircraft touches down with a loud thud. Liang Wanjun quickly deploys the brake chute and initiates the braking sequence. Despite his efforts, the jet hurtles towards the end of the runway. The landing gear is damaged due to the intense impact and friction. Billowing smoke trails the aircraft as it finally comes to a stop less than 100 meters from the end of the runway. The new fighter jet is saved. Liang Wanjun exits the cockpit unscathed, to the cheers of everyone around. In those 8 minutes from engine shutdown to the emergency landing, Liang Wanjun turned a potential disaster into a miraculous save. He preserved the valuable flight data and was awarded the highest honor for his extraordinary bravery and skill. Named one of the most inspiring figures in China in 2004, his award citation reads, "High above in the sky." Faced with sudden danger, Liang Wanjun remained calm and composed. His decision at that moment defined the flight, a brilliant streak of rainbow amidst the clouds.